The Awakening. The protagonist, Zhou Ming Rui, wakes up in excruciating pain, feeling as though an object has pierced his temples. Initially, he believes he is dreaming or suffering a medical emergency, like a cerebral hemorrhage, in his own bed. He attempts to regain control of his body, hoping to wake up from this nightmare. A strange new world. As his vision clears, Zhou realizes he is not in his room. He's in a dim Victorian-style room illuminated by a gas lamp and the light of a crimson moon outside the window. On the desk before him lies strange items: a notebook with yellowed pages, a brass revolver, a strange layout of furniture and pipes. The realization. Zhou looks into a cracked mirror and sees a stranger, a black-haired, brown-eyed young man. Through a sudden influx of memories, he realizes he has transmigrated. He is now Klein, a history graduate from a poor family in the city of Tingen, Loan Kingdom. He possesses knowledge of ancient languages, specifically Fasak and Hermes. The horrifying discovery. Examining the items on the desk, Zhou, now Klein, translates a sentence written in the Hermes language. "Everyone will die, including me." Startled, he backs away and notices a bloody handprint on the desk and blood on his own hand. He returns to the mirror to inspect the source of his throbbing headache. He discovers a grotesque gunshot wound in his temple, with burn marks and visible brain matter, implying that the original Klein committed suicide with the revolver just moments before Zhou took over the body. The miracle of life. Zhou Ming Rui, now in Klein's body, examines himself in the mirror. Despite looking like a desiccated corpse with a gruesome head wound, he discovers he has a heartbeat and body warmth. Upon closer inspection under better light, he realizes the wound is healing at an unnatural speed, with brain matter and flesh knitting themselves back together. He attributes this rapid recovery to a benefit of his transmigration. The environment and economy. To inspect his wound, Zhao has to figure out how to work the gas lamp. This triggers memories of Klein's brother, Benson, who sacrificed his savings to install the gas pipes so Klein could study for university. Zhao learns that the lamp is coin-operated. He uses a copper penny to activate the meter, noting that the family is quite poor and that the landlord, Mr. Frankie, is extremely stingy about water and utility usage. Cleaning the crime scene. Zhao goes to the communal bathroom to wash the blood off his face and shirt to avoid scaring Klein's younger sister, Melissa. Upon returning to the room, he cleans the bloody handprint and discovers a bullet hole in the wall and a spent shell casing. This confirms the sequence of events. Klein definitely committed suicide by shooting himself in the temple. However, Zhao is still puzzled as to why a history graduate would do this and where he got the gun. The cause of transmigration. While fiddling with the revolver, Zhao tries to deduce why he transmigrated. He remembers a luck enhancement ritual he performed back on Earth shortly before this happened. The ritual involved placing 4 portions of staple food in the 4 corners of the room, walking 4 steps counterclockwise in a square, and chanting honorifics, specifically, "The celestial worthy of heaven and earth for blessings." Suspecting this ritual is the cause of his travel, Zhao resolves to attempt the ritual again tomorrow, hoping it will transport him back to his own world. Working his way through the memories, Zhao discovers he's oblivious of specific terms in his own ways. Key takeaway. Zhao Mingrui has confirmed the previous body owner committed suicide, discovered he has supernatural healing abilities, and believes an ancient Chinese divination ritual is the key to going home. Memory and identity. After calming down, Zhao Mingrui, as Klein, delves into Klein's fragmented memories. Key details are missing, such as how he acquired the revolver, why he would commit suicide, or the meaning behind the phrase, "Everyone will die, including me." However, he remembers that Klein is a history graduate from Koi University and has an interview with Tingen University's history department in 2 days. Melissa Moretti. Zhao meets Klein's younger sister, Melissa. Through memories, he learns the Lone Kingdom recently enacted a basic education law, making public primary schools affordable, 3 pence a week, and secular. Melissa, aged 15 or 16, attends Tingen Technical School, studying steam and machinery, a field she loves. The eldest brother, Benson, works tirelessly at an import-export company to support both Klein and Melissa, often taking on dangerous or arduous work due to economic downturns caused by conflicts in the southern continent. The interaction. Zhao accidentally almost reveals the revolver, but hides it just in time. He tries to make conversation using their late father's silver pocket watch, which is often broken. Melissa fixes it effortlessly with a unique method, pulling the button up to start the gears, highlighting her mechanical talent and Zhao's lack of common sense for this world. Melissa treats Klein with a mix of exasperation and care, reminding him repeatedly to buy fresh bread, 8 pounds, mutton, and peas for a celebratory stew as Benson might return on Sunday. World-building details. Currency costs. Public transport, horse carriage, costs 1 penny per kilometer, capped at 4 pennies in the city. Religion calendar. The northern continent follows a 365-day calendar with 12 months and a 7-day week. The 7-day week corresponds to the 7 orthodox gods: eternal blazing sun, Lord of storms, God of knowledge and wisdom, ever night goddess, Earth Mother, God of combat, and God of steam and machinery. Key takeaway. Zhao Mingrui successfully navigates his first interaction with Melissa without raising suspicion, though he realizes he lacks crucial local knowledge. He remains determined to attempt the luck enhancement ritual to return home, feeling a pang of guilt as he watches his sister leave for school. Preparations and precautions. Zhu Mingri, Klein, prepares to leave the apartment to buy ingredients for his luck enhancement ritual. He discovers Benson's hidden savings inside a cushion, a roll of notes including solely silver-linked currency and pence. Before leaving, he decides to carry the brass revolver for protection. Demonstrating a cautious nature, he adjusts the cylinder so that the hammer rests on an empty chamber, the one used in the suicide to prevent accidental misfires. Life in Tingen. Stepping out, Zhu experiences the visceral reality of Tingen: dirty streets, impoverished children, and bustling hawkers. He visits Smyron Bakery to buy 8 pounds of rye bread. The Grain Act. The baker, Mrs. Wendy, mentions that the price of bread has dropped due to the repeal of the Grain Act, a protectionist law that previously limited cheap grain imports. Economic disparity. Zhu reflects on the massive wealth gap. As a prospective university lecturer, he could earn 2 to 3 gold pounds a week, in which his brother Benson earns only 1 pound 10 solely, despite years of hard labor. The Transmigrator Senior. While heading to the market, Zhu encounters a circus promotion and is approached by a woman offering a tarot divination. The mention of tarot shocks Zhu. He searches Klein's memories and realizes that tarot cards, along with many other modern inventions, were created by Roselle Gustave over 170 years ago. Roselle's inventions: the steam engine, paper playing cards including games like Texas Hold'em and Fighting the Landlord, the discovery of the southern continent, colonialism, the transition from a republic to an empire, declaring himself Caesar. Zhu realizes that Roselle was likely a fellow transmigrator from Earth who reshaped this world's history before being assassinated. The free reading. Intrigued by this connection to his homeworld, Zhu agrees to the divination when the fortune teller offers it for free since she is her first customer of the day. Here's a key world-building element: currency. The Loan Kingdom uses a system similar to the pre-decimal British pound. 1 gold pound equals 20 soldi. 1 soldi equals 12 pence copper penny. The failed divination. Zhu agrees to a free tarot reading. He is immediately suspicious and asks for his past, present, and future. The card for his present is revealed as the Fool, 0, which he interprets as a fresh start. Before the card can be interpreted, the tent's owner arrives and reveals the fortune teller is actually an animal trainer impersonating her. Zhu, unwilling to pay the real fortune teller, leaves immediately. The Luck Enhancement Ritual. After spending almost all his money, 2 soldi and 1 penny, on the required ingredients, Zhu prepares for the ritual. He translates the earth-based incantations into the local languages, Fei Sak and Loan, as a backup. He places the 4 pieces of rye bread in the corners of the room and begins the ceremony. The chants. He walks 4 steps counterclockwise, chanting the 4 phases: the Immortal Lord, the Sky Lord, the Exalted Tyarch, and the Celestial Worthy of Heaven and Earth for blessings. The phenomenon. As he closes his eyes and waits, the air thickens and his head is overwhelmed by low, chaotic, maniacal murmurs and an incomprehensible language. He experiences agonizing pain, realizing the ritual is working in a dangerous, unexpected way. The gray fog and the gathering. The pain subsides and Zhu opens his eyes to find himself suspended in a space of endless hazy gray fog. The fog is dotted with massive, luminous, rim-shard crimson stars. Unnerved, he explores the space and accidentally touches 2 of the stars. The impact of his touch triggers the arrival of 2 new, unsuspecting individuals. Audrey Hall, Backland, a wealthy noble girl who was attempting to awaken an antique cracked bronze mirror, a magical artifact. And Alger Wilson, Sonia C., a powerful figure, a beyonder, who was on a ship struggling with a storm, performing a ritual to gather ingredients for a potion. The cliffhanger. Zhu, the mysterious person shrouded in mist, and the 2 newcomers, Audrey and Alger, find themselves face to face in the surreal fog. All 3 are instantly startled, speaking in unison. "Sir, where is this? What are you planning on doing?" The first gathering. Zhu Mingri, realizing he is the master of this new space, the gray fog, decides to maintain a mysterious, powerful facade to glean information from the 2 newcomers, Audrey Hall and Alger Wilson. The palace and the long table. As Zhu thinks about how he should present himself, the gray fog around them instantly transforms. a magnificent grand stone palace appears, complete with a vast dome and a long bronze table. The setting. Audrey and Algar are seated opposite each other near one end of the table. Zhu Mingri sits alone at the seat of honor at the head of the table. The projections. Zhu realizes the two individuals are not physically present, but are projections linked to the crimson stars outside the fog. They are incorporeal and will return once the connection is severed. The Beyonder Paths. Audrey, captivated by the mystery, immediately asks Zhu how she can become a Beyonder, which is an individual with supernatural powers. Algar, an experienced Beyonder, answers in Zhu's stead, giving valuable information about the world. 1. Requirements. To become a Beyonder, one must consume a potion, the formulas for which come from the legendary Blasphemy Slate. 2. Paths. The simplest path is joining the churches, the Evernight Goddess, the Lord of Storms, or the God of Steam and Machinery, and their respective enforcement agencies. Nighthawks, mandated punishers, or machine hive mind. But this sacrifices freedom. Algar then offers 2 Sequence 9 potion formulas for trade. 1. Sailor. Grants excellent balance, immense strength, the ability to swim like a fish, and submergence for long periods, associated with the Lord of Storms. 2. Spectator. Grants exceptionally sharp mind and acute observational abilities, allowing one to discern the true thoughts and emotions of others. Algar warns that a spectator can only be a spectator. Forever. Audrey immediately expresses intense interest in the spectator potion, feeling she has fallen in love with this feeling. The trade and the witness. Algar proposes to trade the spectator formula for 100 milliliters of ghost shark's blood. Audrey agrees, but asks how they can ensure the honesty of the trade given their inability to exchange items directly in the fog space. Algar suggests that the mysterious Sir, who possesses unimaginable power, the ability to summon them, act as their witness. Both Algar and Audrey earnestly implore Zhu to oversee their transaction, believing his presence guarantees integrity. The identity of the fool. Realizing they need an address for him, both newcomers ask how they should address the mysterious Sir. Zhu Mingri pauses, recalls the tarot card he was shown earlier by the animal trainer, and responds with calm confidence. You can address me as the fool. Forming the Tarot Club. The conversation quickly shifts to establishing the gathering as a reoccurring secretive meeting. The proposition. Audrey and Algar enthusiastically propose regular gatherings. They reason that while Mr. Fool may be omnipotent, he might require their unique resources, experiences, and information to handle trivial matters. Zhu Mingri realizes the pros, gaining knowledge of the Beyonder world, outweighs the cons, potential exposure, as he retains full control over the summoning and dismissal. The schedule. Zhu agrees, setting the meetings for every Monday at 3 in the afternoon. Code names. Audrey suggests using code names for security. She bases the system on the major arcana of the tarot deck. Audrey chooses Justice. Algar chooses the Hanged Man. Audrey excitedly names the group the Tarot Club. Mr. Fool approves of the name. The Divine Paths. Algar and Audrey discuss the nature of divination and the sequence paths of the divine. Divination. Algar corrects Audrey's assumption, stating that tarot cards are merely a tool, a symbolic and logical aid that helps beyonders interpret the signs, attunement to the spiritual world, that ordinary people receive but cannot perceive. Roselle's secret cards. Audrey recalls a rumor that Emperor Roselle created a secret set of 22 paper cards that symbolized a mysterious power, which he later used as the reference for the 22 major arcana gaming cards. The confirmation. Algar confirms this, stating that the secret cards contain the profound mysteries of the 22 paths of the divine, the different lineages of Beyonder Cowers, or sequence paths. Dispersal and resolution. Zoo's splitting headache returns and intensifies, signaling that his connection to the gray fog is faltering. He immediately ends the gathering saying, "Let us look forward to the next gathering." Audrey and Algar respectfully bow and vanish. Time flow. Upon returning to his apartment, Klein confirms that time flowed at the same pace in the real world and the fog space. The decision. Upon the terrifying experience of the ritual and learning about the immense power of the Beyonder world, Zoo realizes he cannot risk another rash attempt to transmigrate back to Earth. He accepts his new life. From this moment forth, I'm Klein. A familiar concept. Klein regains his composure and reflects on the nature of the gathering, chuckling to himself. It's essentially a social networking platform that brings people together across vast distances for exchange and discussion. The Hanged Men, Alger Wilson. Alger finds himself back on the deck of his three-masted sailboat, still battling a raging storm at sea. The bizarre antique glass bottle he was holding shatters, leaving only a hexagonal crystal that vanishes into his palm. His status: Alger is a high-ranking member of the Church of the Lord of Storms, evidenced by his lightning-embroidered robe and the traditional greeting, "May the storm be with you." Beyonder action, he heads to the captain's cabin where he violently chokes and kills the pale middle-aged man sitting there, then uses the body to smash a hole in the wooden wall before flinging the corpse into the mountainous waves. The mission. He claims the captain was an extra loot who briefly escaped, confirming they were capturing a ghost ship from the Tudor era. The ship is eerily empty, moving by itself. The reflection. Alger, gazing at the storm, recognizes the significance of his encounter. A new era has begun. He views the appearance of Mr. Fool and the establishment of the Tarot Club as a major shift. Justice. Audrey Hall. Audrey returns to her opulent bedroom in the Empress Borough of Backland, the capital. The old bronze mirror that facilitated her summoning shatters. Her status. Audrey is the daughter of Earl Hall, confirming her lofty stature, high nobility. She is young, not yet 18, and preparing for a formal social ceremony. Cover story. She quickly attributes the shattered mirror to her beloved, mischievous golden retriever, Susie, to avoid alarming her maidservant, Annie. The ironclad warship. Audrey attends the ceremony with her father. The event is a grand display of the Lone Kingdom's military might, centered on their new invention, the ironclad warship. The juggernaut, named the Prince, is a massive metal steam-powered warship with heavy armor and massive cannons, 457mm armor and four 305mm main cannons. The airship. The royal family, King George III, arrives in a gigantic, beautiful steam-powered airship, showcasing the nation's dominance over the sky. The new era. Prime Minister Lord Eguised-Negin gives a rousing speech celebrating the warship's successful trial run, firing cannons at an uninhabited island. He declares that the age of ghost ships, cursed ships, and pirates, even those with beyonder powers, is over. The declaration. Agusid concludes that the complexity and industrial scale required to build such a warship, coal, steel, dozens of factories, scientists, and state support make it impossible for pirates or smaller nations to replicate. The era of cannons and warships has dawned upon us. Key takeaway. The chapter juxtaposes the new magical reality, the Tarot Club, Beyonders, and ghost ships, with the world's rapidly developing steampunk industrial reality of ironclad warships and airships. Both Alger and Audrey believe their encounter marks the start of an important new era. The ritual's aftermath. The mark. Klein discovers 4 black dots on the back of his hand, forming a small square. These quickly fade but remain hidden in his body. He speculates that these dots may serve as a replacement for the 4 pieces of rye bread, the staple food offerings he used in the ritual. The fear of the unknown. The successful, yet terrifying ritual confirms the existence of a deep, dangerous mystery. Klein acknowledges his fear of the unknown, the oldest and strongest emotion, but realizes he cannot escape this new reality. He resolves to face it and learn more about the mystical domain, primarily by waiting for the next Tarot Club gathering, Monday at 3 p.m. Acceptance. Until he can return home, he must focus on survival and solving the immediate crisis. He decides, from this moment forth, I'm Klein. The investigation. Klein eats a frugal meal of boiled potatoes and rye bread, using the bread offerings to stave off hunger. He then sits down to examine Klein Moretti's notebook, hoping to find clues about the suicide or murder. The notebook, starting May 10th, details historical research and personal thoughts. On May 12th and 16th, notes detail academic debates on linguistics, ancient Faisak and Jotun, reflecting Klein's interest in history and archaeology. On June 29th, Klein notes that his wealthy friend, Welch McGovern, the son of a banker, acquired a notebook from the 4th epoch and asked Klein and Naya to help decode it. The 4th epoch, also known as the Age of the Gods, is a highly mysterious and incomplete period of history. June 29th to 26th, decoding the ancient notebook. On June 21st, Klein confirms the language is a modified form of ancient Faisak. On June 22nd, they decipher the first page. The author belongs to the Antigonus family. On June 22nd, the author mentions a secret transaction with a person named Tudor, possibly linked to the Tudor dynasty. On June 25th, new content is deciphered. The author was sent on a mission to visit the nation of the Evernight, situated at the summit of the Hornax mountain range, over 6,000 meters high. On June 26th, the entry ends with the question, are these strange things real? The closing statement, everyone will die, including me, must have been the final entry on June 27th. Klein deduces that the ancient notebook is the most likely cause of the original Klein's death. Though he suspects visiting Welch will be dangerous, he concludes that he must go to solve the mystery before it overtakes him. The intruder. Just as Klein reaches this decision, a series of quick and forceful knocks echoes through the hallway, interrupting his plans. The police visit. Hearing the aggressive knocking, Klein instinctively grabs the revolver from his drawer. He manages to quickly hide it under coal in the stove before answering the door, wary of a possible search. The officers. At the door are 4 policemen: Senior Sergeant Bitch Mountbatten, the local rough street cop, and 3 plainclothes inspectors. The questioning. The lead inspector, a dignified, middle-aged man, asks if Klein knows Welch McGovern. Klein quickly confirms their friendship and academic relationship, revealing they were decoding the Fourth Epoch notebook together. The terrible truth. The police deliver shocking news. Welch, McGovern, and Naya have both passed away at Welch's house. Suicide? The gray-eyed inspector explains that the scene suggests suicide, but the manner of death is horrifying and unnatural. Welch repeatedly smashed his head into a wall, and Naya drowned herself in a wash basin. The norm. Crucially, the police confirmed that the autopsies found no signs of struggling, drugs, or external forces, suggesting they willingly or passively succumbed to whatever killed them. The interrogation. Klein reveals the last time he saw them was June 26th, after reading a new chapter of the notes. As he speaks, a young, green-eyed inspector begins searching the room and picks up Klein's diary. The confession. When the young, green-eyed inspector reads the cryptic entry, "Everyone will die, including me," Klein executes a risky move. He pretends to have amnesia regarding recent events and the strange note, claiming he has felt not quite right since waking up that morning. The reaction. Sergeant Mountbatten is furious, calling the lie ridiculous. However, the gray-eyed inspector surprisingly accepts it, stating that an expert will be brought in 2 days to help him recall his memories, a psychological expert, Klein assumes. The warning. The inspectors conclude the questioning, warning Klein not to leave Tingen or he will be declared a fugitive. As the officers depart, the young, green-eyed inspector pats Klein on the shoulder and delivers a final, chilling statement. Generally speaking, the norm is for all the involved parties to die in such an event. We are very glad and fortunate to see you still alive. Klein is left alone, terrified, realizing he survived a fate that killed the other 2 participants of the ancient notebook decoding. Survival acting. After the police leave, having delivered the chilling message that the norm is for everyone to die, Klein suspects they're still watching him. He runs to the door but stops, realizing the police's indifference is either a probe or a bait. Feigned panic. To maintain his amnesiac, traumatized witness facade, he feigns panic, shouting down the stairs for reassurance, then laughs at the police's poor acting skills when they don't respond. Actor's self-cultivation. For the next few hours, he acts out a performance of restlessness, nervousness, and agitation, constantly moving and muttering, embracing the self-cultivation of an actor until sunset. The stewed mutton. As Melissa is due home from school, Klein retrieves the revolver from the stove and hides it beneath the bed. He decides to cook dinner himself, determined to elevate the simple, crude dish Melissa usually makes. The excuse. He excuses his sudden, superior culinary skills by deciding to blame them on Welch McGovern, the now dead friend with the gourmet cook, realizing the dead cannot refute him. The process. Klein marinates the mutton with salt and pepper,
stir-fries the carrots and onions in lard, and then stews the meat. After 20 minutes, he adds the peas and potatoes and lets it simmer for 40 minutes. A taste of home. The fragrance attracts Melissa as soon as she enters the room. She is astonished that Klein made it. The meal and connection. The taste. Melissa, suspicious but hungry, tries the dish. The blend of the starchy potato, the rich gravy, and the tender mutton, thanks to Klein's practiced technique, is an unprecedented delicacy for her. She is overwhelmed and eats rapidly, stammering apologies for eating his share. The comfort. Klein calms her, assuring her that he already tasted it and encouraging her to eat. His gentle and calm demeanor relaxes her, allowing her to simply enjoy the meal. The praise. Melissa wholeheartedly praises the dish, admitting, "It doesn't seem like you were doing it for the first time." The promise. Klein smiles and says he will take her and Benson out for a better meal once he is rich. The sisters resolve. As Melissa finishes her cleaning up, she notices the small depletion of the expensive pepper and lard. After a moment of internal debate, balancing the cost against the quality, she turns to Klein with a serious expression. "Let me cook in the future." Melissa's determined to prevent him from using up precious resources, even for such a wonderful meal. Klein simply laughs and urges her to focus on preparing for his upcoming interview. The interrogation escalates. Klein goes to bed after a restless night of feigned studying. He is awakened at the first glimmer of dawn by a knock. Dunn Smith returns. Standing at the door is the gray-eyed inspector, Dunn Smith. He reveals that they found a carriage driver who confirms that the former Klein went to Welch's house on June 27th, the day both Welch and Naya died, and the day the former Klein attempted suicide. The revolver. Dunn then reveals he knows Welch lost a revolver and strongly suggests Klein has it. Klein, realizing the lie is useless, points out the hiding spot behind the bunk bed. Klein decides to tell the truth, minus the transmigration and the tarot club. He claims he woke up with the gun beside him, realized he had attempted suicide but somehow survived, and lost his memory of the 27th. Dunn's acceptance. Dunn calmly accepts this, noting it aligns with the hidden logic of similar incidents in the past, but insists that Klein is still the prime suspect. The race against the expert. The summons. Dunn demands Klein accompany him to the police station immediately for the investigation, revealing the expert, the psychologist who might expose the truth of his Earth memories, has arrived early. The escape attempt. The dream. Klein realizes he must avoid the expert at all costs. He leaves a note for his siblings and follows Dunn out. As they approach the police carriage, an oyster seller causes a chaotic distraction. Klein uses this opportunity to bend low and run frantically towards a hired carriage on Iron Cross Street, planning to escape to the capital, backland, by train or boat. The trap. Klein hails a carriage and orders it to the pier. Just as he prepares to jump off to mislead the police, the carriage turns onto the road leading to Welch's place. The driver turns around, revealing the cold gray eyes of Dunn Smith. The nightmare ends. Waking up, Klein is startled awake in his bed. He is covered in cold sweat. He realizes the entire escape sequence, the chase, the twist with the carriage driver, was a nightmare. The real encounter. Calmed down, Klein checks his pocket watch, 2 a.m., and decides to go to the washroom. As he walks along the dark corridor under the crimson moonlight, he sees a silhouette outside the end window. Dunn Smith. The silhouette turns, revealing a man in a black trench coat, shrouded in darkness and moonlight. The man has deep, gray, and cold eyes. It is the real Dunn Smith, standing sentinel outside the apartment. The Nighthawk. Dunn Smith reveals he is a Nighthawk, one of the Beyonder teams of the Church of Evernight.
Dream guidance. Dunn explains that he entered Klein's dream and guided it. He asserts that dreams are chaotic, but they are rooted in reality, and a veteran like him can discern the truth, confirming Klein's memory loss concerning the incident. Klein's defense. Klein realizes his mind remained unusually rational in the dream. He attributes this to his transmigration or the luck enhancement ritual, effectively shielding his biggest secrets, transmigration, the tarot club, from the Nighthawk. The missing link. Dunn reveals the key reason for the continued investigation. The Antigonus family notebook is missing from the suicide scene. Klein is the only surviving lead connected to its last known use. The medium. Klein is taken to Welch's apartment to meet the expert, who is officially disguised as the most renowned spirit medium in Alwa County. The actual identity. Dunn introduces her as a true spirit medium, a beyonder named Daly. The scene. Inside Welch's house, the room is lit only by a candle emitting an eerie cobalt blue glow. Daly, dressed in a black robe with blue makeup, states that the spirits of Welch and Naya have disappeared, leaving only little rascals who know nothing. Daly's technique. Daly uses aromatic floral essences, amantha for tranquility and eye of the spirit for mediumship, dripped onto the blue candle flame. This induces a trance-like state, causing Klein to feel exposed, as if his spirit were an ocean of memories. Klein's resistance. Despite the trance, Klein's inherent specialness or training from the ritual keeps his mind rational and sober. He intentionally churns the ocean and claims he cannot remember anything, successfully thwarting Daly's attempt to retrieve the suppressed memories. The failure. Daly fails to find any traces of the notebook or suppressed memories in Klein. Dunn and Daly agree that the horrific force that drove Welch and Naya to suicide left no trace. The final warning. The release. Klein is congratulated and released, with Dunn warning him not to reveal the incident to his family. The probability. Klein asks about long-term safety. Dunn reveals that based on statistics, 80% of survivors of similar incidents experience no after effects, but the remaining 20% still succumb, later often years after everything appears normal, like the man who strangled himself to death years after escaping a cult. The offer. Dunn suggests 2 ways to ensure his long-term safety, joining them as a civilian staff or becoming a beyonder. The risk. Dunn warns Khan that joining them means losing freedom and facing extreme danger. 1/4, 25% of all cases handled by the beyonder agencies are due to beyonders losing control, and a large number of those are their own teammates. The rationale for the invitation. Klein asks Dunn why the Beyonders are so prone to losing control and why he is being recruited. Beyonder instability. Dunn refuses to explain the hidden dangers plaguing Beyonders, stating, "This is not something that you need to understand unless you become one of us." Civilian staff perks. Dunn clarifies that joining as a civilian staff member is enough to gain access to the relevant secrets, allowing Klein to later make an informed decision about becoming a beyonder, though the church must still approve such a transition. Klein's value. Dunn gives 3 main reasons for the recruitment. 1. Survival. Klein survived a deadly incident without intervention, suggesting exceptional qualities, possibly luck. 2. Expertise. They urgently need Klein's specialized knowledge as a history graduate from Coy University, as they frequently encounter dangerous documents and objects from the 4th epoch and earlier. Most Nighthawks are not academically proficient in this area. 3. Confidentiality. Inviting Klein does not violate confidentiality rules since he has already been exposed to the incident, saving the Nighthawks the risk of grooms who might fail and expose secrets. Secrets of the Church. Klein asks Dunn why secrecy is so strictly maintained, suggesting public knowledge would lessen fear of the unknown. Dunn's warning. He dismisses this, quoting Emperor Rossel.
The only lesson that humans can learn from history is that humans do not gain any lessons from history, and they're always repeating the same tragedies. The deeper truth, Dunn then provides a more cryptic, chilling justification for the strict secrecy among the major churches. Quote, "Faith and fear bring troubles. More faith and more fear bring more troubles until everything is destroyed." The terms of employment. Dunn formally invites Klein to join as a civilian staff member. Salary and compensation. The weekly salary is high for a commoner, £2 and 10 soldi, plus an extra 10 soldi compensation for risk and confidentiality, totaling £3. This rivals a confirmed university lecturer's pay. Contract. The initial contract is 5 years. Restrictions. After 5 years, if he quits, he must sign a lifetime confidentiality agreement and cannot leave Tingen without permission. Work is in shifts, no normal weekends, and vacation travel requires arranging with colleagues. The next step. Klein asks for time to consider, which Dunn grants, requiring a reply before Sunday. Meeting point. Dunn reveals their location is confidential. To contact him, Klein must go to the Hound pub at Beswick Street, find the boss, Wright, and ask to hire a small mercenary squad for a mission. Klein watches the carriage leave, feeling the cold sweat on his back, realizing the terrifying choice now before him. Face a 20% chance of a horrific death alone, or accept a well-paid yet highly restrictive and dangerous job that promises the protection and knowledge of the beyonder world. The decision to join. After escaping the nightmare and the police interrogation, Klein returns to his apartment where his sister Melissa confronts him. He lies, claiming he was out jogging. Melissa, who was still troubled by her overstuffed stomach from his cooking and worried about his interview, shows him a mechanical tortoise, which she insists is a puppet she built to help her relax. Alone again, Klein weighs the pros and cons of joining the Nighthawk's civilian staff. Disadvantages, risks. Exposure risk. Transmitter's secret and the full identity could be exposed. Advantages, necessities. Survival. He is in the 20% risk group for a horrific delayed death and needs protection. Loss of freedom. Cannot reject orders, must report travel, and has no normal weekends. Resources. Gains access to beyonder knowledge, resources, and channels needed for the Tarot Club. Buffer and cover. Civilian staff status provides a temporary buffer and a superior cover identity. The superior recluse hides away in the wild, the superior, the crowd. By morning, Klein has made his decision. He will find Dunn Smith and join the Nighthawks as a civilian staff member. The rendezvous. After a nap, Klein dresses formally and takes a public horse carriage for 4 pence to Beswick Street. Following Dunn's instructions, he locates a pub with a brownish-yellow hound logo, the Hound Pub. The scene. The pub is loud, crowded, and dimly lit, filled with temporary workers and idlers. In the center are 2 large iron cages sunken into the floor. Rat baiting. Klein is approached by a man who tries to get him to bet. He discovers the gambling is not on dogfighting, which is now illegal, but on rat baiting with dogs. 2 dogs, a husky-like dog and a fierce black dog, are pitted against hundreds of rats dumped into the cage, and people bet on which dog can kill the most. The contact. Klein finds the bartender and asks for Mr. Wright. Wright, the intoxicated old boss, confirms the archaic reference, the small mercenary squad. The address. Wright gives Klein the true modern location of the Nighthawk base, the 2nd floor of number 36 Zoutland Street. Klein leaves the bizarre pub and soon finds the final destination, a vertical sign reading Blackthorn Security Company. Klein officially joins the Church of Evernights Beyonder team, revealing the organizational structure and setting the stage for his deep dive into the supernatural world. The Blackthorn Security Company. Klein finds the Nighthawk base hidden behind the guise of the Blackthorn Security Company. The reception. He finds the office unprofessional, with the receptionist, Rosanna, dozing off behind a desk hidden by the Tingen City Honest paper. Rosanna is a cheerful, talkative civilian staff member who joined 5 years ago after her Nighthawk father died. The poet. In the hallway, Klein spots Leonard, the black-haired, green-eyed inspector who had searched his room. Rosanna notes that Leonard, a sleepless, a Beyonder term, once comically tumbled down the stairs before mastering his powers. The underground base. Rosanna leads Klein down a stone staircase, revealing the operation is entirely underground, where the air is damp and cool. The sacred path. The underground corridor is lined with dark sacred emblems, half of a crimson moon on a black background, which provide a sense of serenity. The location. Rosanna reveals the base connects directly to the St. Selena Cathedral, the Church of Evernight headquarters in Tingen, confirming their deep connection to the clergy. The new appointment. Klein meets Captain Dunn Smith in a small room adjacent to the Chanis Gate, a heavy, protective iron split gate carved with 7 sacred emblems. The signing. Klein confirms his decision to join. Dunn presents the contract, which formalizes the previously discussed terms: 5-year contract, £3 weekly pay, and strict confidentiality. Klein signs the contract with his name, Klein Moretti, and uses his thumbprint. The real name. Dunn reveals their official, hidden title via a stamped document. Unit 7, Special Operations Department, Alwal County, Police, Lowen Kingdom. The structure. Dunn explains the city's supernatural defense is divided by area and church. Unit 7, Nighthawks, Evernight, covers the North, West, and Golden Indus region. Unit 6, Mandated Punishers, Storms, covers the Pier, East, and South. Unit 5, Mechanics Mindheim and Steam, covers the university area and suburbs. Side business. Dunn confirms they do take on simple Blackthorn Security Company jobs, finding dogs and cats, etc., for extra bonuses, though the detective market is monopolized. Headcount. The Tingen Nighthawk team consists of only 6 formal Beyonders and now 6 civilian staff members, including Klein. The crucial question. Finally, having signed the contract, Klein asks the question he's most concerned about. So, Captain, what do you mean by Beyonders losing control? Why does it happen?
The creation myth, the origin. Klein and Dunn first discussed the creation myth, which is surprisingly detailed and standardized across the churches. The Creator. The Creator awoke from chaos, shattered the darkness, and fused himself into the universe. Body parts. The Creator's body parts became the fundamental extraordinary races. Lungs became elves, heart became giants, brain became dragons, etc. The gods. The Creator's spirit became the eternal blazing sun, the Lord of the storms, and the God of knowledge and wisdom. The goddess. Klein questions why the Evernight goddess is not mentioned among the original spirits. Dunn guides him to recall her full title, Lady of Crimson, revealing that she originated from one of the Creator's eyes, the crimson moon, establishing her ancient and orthodox status equal to the others. The conclusion. Everything stems from the same origin, and humanity was born from the Creator's wisdom. High tidal slide,
Sentence all creation was born of man by man's wisdom. The Beyonder system and the loss of control. Dunn explains that humans figured out how to gain powers by combining parts of these extraordinary creatures into potions. He then details the 5 causes of losing control. Type 1. Consuming the wrong grade, too high. Consuming a potion that is too high grade, too low a sequence number for one's current state. Type 2. Consuming the wrong path, born traits. Individuals born with high spiritual perception are semi-sequence 9 beyonders with fixed characteristics if they consume a potion from any other sequence path. Type 3. Consuming the wrong path, switching. After choosing a sequence chain, switching to a potion from another sequence. Type 4. Accumulated madness, the most common. Rushing to consume a higher sequence potion before fully mastering the powers of the previous potion and eliminating the residual spiritual remnant, or madness. Type 5. Spiritual enticement, the final kind. The Beyonders' enhanced spiritual perception constantly exposes them to mysterious enticements and illusions, leading to madness if they are overstimulated or driven by greedy desires. Key takeaways. Sequences. The blasphemy slate was key to perfecting the sequence system, a tiered, semi-stable progression, lower number equals higher grade. Nighthawk rules. Due to Type 4, madness, Nighthawks have a strict internal rule. Even after great contributions, a teammate must wait 3 years after consuming their last potion and be thoroughly examined before they can be promoted, still resulting in many losing control. The Creed. Dunn ends with a bleak quote from the founder, Archbishop Channis. "We are guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches that are constantly fighting against threats and madness." Rationalizing the danger. Price of power. Klein accepts Dunn's warning that Beyonders constantly tread alongside danger, acknowledging that gain comes at a price. Managing the risks. He decides the major risks, consuming the wrong potion or grade, are avoidable. The unavoidable risks, subtle influences, and heightened perception are also dangerous with Felt becoming a Beyonder, so gaining power is the better defense and the necessary first step to finding a way back to his home world. Low sequence power. Dunn confirms that low sequence Beyonders are not omnipotent and are no match for guns or cannons, but their power is simply more fascinating and indefensible. Klein's new job scope. Dunn outlines Klein's specific duties, which differ from the other civilian staff. 1. Stroll and recall. Every morning or afternoon, Klein must walk the streets between Welch's place and his apartment. This is based on the Nighthawk's deduction that Klein likely hid the antagonist family diary on the way home, and a familiar spot might trigger a memory of the hiding place, potentially earning him enough contribution to become a Beyonder. 2. Archival work. When not outside, he must go to the armory and read literature and canon books, which is a job for a professional historian. Only once this task is complete will he join Roseanne, Brett, and Old Neil in handling general tasks like filing, cleaning, and guard duties. The sealed artifacts. Dunn explains the system used to categorize dangerous extraordinary items, which are stored in the basement behind the Channis Gate. Purpose. These items are important and magical, but can cause immense destruction if misused. Some are living and can entice keepers, influence surroundings, and attempt escape. Grading system. Grade 0, extremely dangerous, highest confidentiality, must be sealed in the sacred cathedral basement, cannot be inquired about, described, or spied on. Grade 1, highly dangerous, limited use, Clearance for diocese bishops or Nighthawk deacons and above. Grade 2. Dangerous. Used with care. Clearance for bishops or Nighthawk captains and above. City Cathedral Store 3 to 5. Grade 3. Considerably dangerous. Used with care in operations of 3 or more. Clearance for formal Nighthawk members. The Hunt. Dunn hands Klein a photo of former Archbishop Ince Zangwill, a gatekeeper who lost control 3 years ago and escaped with a Grade 0 sealed artifact, 008. Ince Zangwill's traits: dark blonde hair, nearly black-blue pupils, high nose, and blind in one eye. Sealed artifact 008. Its search is only described verbally. It appears to be a common quill, but it does not need ink to write. Captain Dunn's dementia. Dunn issues his final instructions, repeatedly forgetting crucial details. 1. Advanced payment. Dunn orders Klein to get a 4-week advance payment, £12 total, from the accountant Mrs. Oriana to cover the cost of a new apartment to maintain confidentiality and new clothes, like a cane and suit, to fit in. 2. Safety and training. After several callbacks, Dunn modifies his instructions. First, demon hunting bullets. Collect 10 demon hunting bullets from Old Neil for Welch's revolver, which Klein keeps for self-defense. Shooting practice. Collect 30 normal bullets daily and a badge from Old Neil to practice shooting at the Nighthawks underground range at number 3 Zoutland Street. The accountant. Klein meets the accountant, Mrs. Oriana, a refined woman in her 30s with curly hair. The advance. Klein receives the £12, 4 gold notes, 2 £5 notes, and 2 £1 notes. The Oriana history. She reveals she was almost the 6th victim of the infamous Bloody Butcher serial killer 16 years ago, who was a Beyonder preparing a ritual for the devil. This incident led her to join the Nighthawks. Old Neil and Roselle's diary. Klein then meets Old Neil, the Hari elder and formal Nighthawk member, who now serves as the archivist. The archivist. Old Neil is amicable, but warns Klein that he avoids drinking coffee after 3 p.m. because he is afraid that it would affect his sleep at night. It will make him hear the murmurings of the unknown existence. The historian's task. Neil tasks Klein with analyzing fragmented and complicated historical documents. He specifically points to the lost diary of Emperor Roselle Gustav, the Transmigrator Sr. The code. Neil explains that Roselle used strange secret symbols in his diary. He has already determined some symbols represent numbers, and he wants Klein to use his historical knowledge to compare the diary entries with contemporary events to decipher more symbols. He discovers that the symbols are not symbols at all. They are just simplified Chinese characters. The Roselle Diary. Klein secretly reads the 3 yellowed pages of the diary provided by Old Neil. Shared identity. He feels an immediate, overwhelming sense of familiarity, confirming Roselle is a fellow countryman. The crux of potions. The diary contains a priceless secret that gives Klein direction for his future as a Beyonder. The key thing about potions is not about grasping them, but digesting them. It's nothing about tapping powers, but acting. And the name of a potion is not solely symbolic at its core, but a concrete imagery and the key to digestion. Other entries. The Pathetic Fellow. Roselle mentions discovering a pathetic fellow lost and trapped in the deep darkness amid the storms who can only approach reality on the full moon, but cannot transmit cries. Roselle's regret. Roselle regrets his initial sequence choice, wishing he had chosen the apprentice, the seer, or the marauder instead. war and technology. He mentions an alliance against him, Phazak, Loen, and Fenapatar, and his plan to invent wireless telegraphs after losing contact with a ship seeking the forsaken land of God. The disappearing creatures. Old Neil reveals to Klein that Beyonder activity is declining. Extinction. Extraordinary species are gradually going extinct in the northern continent. Dragons, giants, and elves are now only in books, leading to fewer potions and a reduction in the number of Beyonders. A shared joke. Klein jokingly suggests starting a Dragons and Giants Protection Association. He and Old Neil immediately click, laughing as they decide to call it the Fantastic Organisms Protection Association. This shared moment dissipates the earlier professional unfamiliarity. New gear and a new acquaintance. Klein collects his equipment from Old Neil. Weapons. 10 demon hunting bullets, silver, engraved with sacred emblems, and 30 regular revolver bullets. Gear. An ox-hide underarm holster, and a police badge for the 7th Unit Special Operations Department. Leonard Mitchell. Klein meets the black-haired poet Nighthawk, Leonard Mitchell, who introduces himself as a Sequence 8 midnight poet. Leonard tells Klein he has a deep impression of him due to his special disposition after the incident. A humane delay. Klein runs into Roseanne again, who informs him that Captain Dunn has given him permission to start work on Monday, allowing him the rest of the week, Thursday through Sunday, to settle his affairs, including formally withdrawing from the Tingen University interview. The sleepless pathway. Klein asks Roseanne about the Church of Evernights starting sequence. Roseanne, driven by agitation and respect for her late father, a Beyonder, launches into a detailed warning about the dangers of becoming a Beyonder. Sequence 9. The complete pathway starts with Sequence 9, sleepless. Traits. Does not need to sleep at night. Only 3 to 4 hours of rest needed. Can see through the darkness, and their physical and mental strength increases at night. Sequence 8. Midnight Poet. Leonard Mitchell sequence. Sequence 7. Nightmare. Captain Dunn Smith sequence. Traits. Has the ability to enter and guide dreams, as demonstrated by Dunn. Rarity. Roseanne estimates there are only about 30 plus Beyonders in Tingen City and suburbs, with most being Sequence 9. The mystery prior pathway. Klein expresses interest in a sequence focused on knowledge. Roseanne suggests speaking with Old Neil, who knows many magical rituals. She mentions one of his past sequence names. Sequence 9, Mystery Prior. Klein's insight. This name appeals greatly to Klein, as it sounds aligned with his goal of studying the occult to find a way home. The spirit medium. Roseanne also reveals the name of an incomplete sequence pathway. Sequence 7, Spirit Medium. Confirmation. Klein instantly realizes this must be Madame Daly, the medium who had probed his mind in Chapter 14. A small celebration. With 12 gold pounds in his pocket and a crucial secret about the potions and Roselle's diary, Klein decides to celebrate, treating Melissa. According to the custom of his previous life, Foodaholic Empire, earning money required a feast. He decides to give Melissa a treat that night. A necessary purchase. Klein realizes he only has 3 pence and needs to break his 1 gold pound note to afford the 4 pence public carriage fare home. The solution. To avoid excessive bank fees and awkwardness, he decides to purchase an item that is both practical and necessary for a gentleman of his new standing, a cane for self-defense. The choice. At Wilker Clothing and Hats, Klein tests several options, prioritizing weight and hardness. He settles for the cheapest one that is still effective, an ebony wood cane inlaid with silver, costing 7 solly 6 pence, out of the 1 pound note. Testing the new weapon. As he waits for his change, Klein tests the cane with heavy practice swings. The 2 salespeople, unnerved by his intensity, distance themselves. The cashier even grabs a double-barreled shotgun, a legal self-defense weapon in Lowen Kingdom. Klein realizes his mistake and calms them by complimenting the cane's perfect suitability for swinging. He collects his change, 2 5-solly notes, 2 1-solly notes, a 5 pence coin, and a 1 penny coin. Getting home. Klein then spends 6 pence on public carriage fares and reaches home safely. Armed for the night, back at his apartment, Klein prepares for the potential dangers of his new job. Loading. He unloads the bronze revolver, Welch's, and inserts 5 silver demon hunting bullets into the cylinder, leaving an empty chamber as a safety measure. Holstering. He lodges the revolver into the new oxhide holster and practices drawing and reholstering until his arm aches, enhancing his sense of security. The celebration. Melissa returns home disappointed to see the unlit stove. Klein surprises her with his news. He announces he has found a job as a professional consultant for a security company that seeks, collects, and protects ancient relics, earning £3 a week with a 4 weeks advance payment. The surprise. Klein suggests they eat out at the Silver Crown restaurant to celebrate. Melissa's reaction. Instead of excitement, Melissa is hesitant, immediately expressing concern about wasting money when they could save it. The frugal sister. Klein tries to convince Melissa to move to a terrace with a private bathroom and to eat out. Klein's arguments. He cites societal mules, matching lifestyle to income, the need to host colleagues, and future marriage plans as reasons to upgrade their living conditions. Melissa's counterarguments. Melissa logically refutes every point, citing the necessity of saving money for unexpected emergencies and the example of her classmate's lawyer brother, Chris, who delayed marriage to save up. The compromise. Unable to convince her highly practical sister to splurge, Klein compromises. They will boil soup with leftovers and buy prepared food from the street hawkers: pan-fried fish, black pepper beef, butter, and malt beer. He gives her 2 solly and the remaining copper pennies for a small lemon cake for herself. The university visit. The next morning, Klein travels to Tingen University to formally withdraw from his interview, respecting his mentor's efforts. The withdrawal. He meets the administrative staff member, Mr. Harvin Stone, who was impressed by Klein's politeness in showing up. A fateful encounter. While leaving, Klein runs into his old history professors from Coy University, Mentor Cohen, Senior Associate Professor Quentin Cohen, his white-haired mentor, Mr. Azik, a lecturer, a bronze-skinned man with black hair and a weary look, noted for his friendly debates with Cohen. The interview. Klein informs them he found a job as a professional consultant for a security company, repeating the cover story he used with Melissa. The case. Azik asks about the death of Welch and Naya, noting the newspapers are reporting it as an armed burglary. The antagonist's diary. Klein decides to use the opportunity to gather information, subtly revealing. Welch had attained a diary of the Solomon Empire's Antigonus family from the 4th epoch. The professor's reaction. Cohen frowns, muttering about the 4th epoch. Azik, the lecturer who often helped Klein, suddenly goes blank and rubs his temple, muttering, "Antagonist, rings a bell, but why can't I remember?"
The report. After leaving the St. Selena Cathedral and passing the stationary priest, Klein returns to the Blackthorn Security Company. He briefly startles Roseanne at the reception, who is reading a magazine, before finding Captain Dunn Smith. The problem. Klein informs Dunn, quote, "Someone is following me," unquote. Dunn's assessment. Dunn suggests 3 possibilities. 1. Welch's father hired a private investigator from Constant City, also known as Wind City. 2. Someone is looking for the Antagonist family notebook. 3. Other people or organizations are seeking the notebook. Klein's deduction. Klein notes the observer did not follow him into the cathedral, suggesting they might be afraid of the church or beyonders, making a private investigator unlikely. Dunn's instruction. Dunn suggests Klein return the way he came, then do anything he wishes, but he stresses that Klein should not scare the observer off or violate the law, leaving the rest to the Nighthawks. Shooting practice. Klein returns to the streets and immediately feels the familiar sensation of being watched.
He takes a circuitous route to number 3 Zotland Street and enters the Zotland Shooting Club, a public extension of the police department's underground range. The setup. Klein uses his Special Operations Department badge for access. He removes the demon-hunting bullets and loads the revolver with normal brass rounds, choosing to practice in his full outfit to simulate a real encounter. The training routine. He practices the standard aiming and stance, resting his arms when sore. After expending all 35 normal rounds, 30 collected from Old Neil, plus 5 spare, he gradually improves from missing to hitting the target and finally aiming for the bullseye. The sidearm. Satisfied, he reloads the revolver with the 5 silver demon-hunting bullets, leaving an empty chamber, and puts the sidearm back in his underarm holster. Benson's return. Klein returns home and the feeling of being observed vanishes. He finds his older brother, Benson Moretti, seated at the desk. Benson, 25, looks almost 30 due to his strenuous work. Good news! Klein tells Benson his cover story. He quit the interview and found a job as a professional consultant for an ancient relic security company, earning £3 a week. The coin system. When discussing buying food, Klein complains that the Lowen Kingdom's coin system, £1 equals 20 soli, 1 soli equals 12 pence, is foolish. Benson agrees, stating that it is the most foolish coin system because it lacks the decimal system and talent among the powerful people. The rental contract. Klein reminds that their lease is for 1 year, and they will need to address the contract with the miserly landlord, Mr. Frankie, before moving. Benson promises to handle the negotiation tomorrow. The celebration dinner. Klein buys fresh ingredients, beef, fish, vegetables, spices, and cooks a substantial meal for his siblings, which he serves on the tidy desk. The spread. The meal includes stewed beef, mashed potatoes, thick pea soup, stewed rhubarb, buttered rye bread, and fried tussock fish. Klein also provides ginger beer for the brothers and a lemon pudding for Melissa, who does not like the taste of ginger beer. The toast. Benson toasts Klein's new job and they drink their non-alcoholic ginger beer. The verdict. Benson and Melissa are delighted with the food, though Klein himself finds his thick pea soup too sweet and sour, attributing the taste difference to missing condiments. Melissa's frugality. Melissa, ever the penny pincher, saves the best part of the lemon pudding for last, believing it will be just as delicious, though Klein suggests she should eat it first to fully appreciate the flavor. The dream warning. At 11 o'clock, the siblings go to bed. The dream. Klein finds himself in a dream staring at Dunn Smith, who is wearing his trench coat and hat. The message. Dunn's calm, deep voice delivers a terrifying message. Someone has sneaked into your room. Pick up your revolver and force him to the corridor. Leave the rest to us. Klein jolts awake and turns his head. He sees a thin, unfamiliar back standing at his desk, silently rummaging for something.
The standoff. Klein wakes to find a thin, scrawny man rummaging through his desk drawer. He reaches for his bronze revolver under the pillow. Intimidation. Klein decides to use intimidation over immediately firing, knowing a stationary threat makes his weapon a greater deterrent. He slowly pulls out the revolver and aims it at the intruder's head. Dialogue. Klein calmly addresses the intruder. "Good evening, sir. Please raise both of your hands and turn around. Try to do it slow. To be frank, I am very timid and I get nervous easily." Evasion. The intruder, a man with thick, sharp brown eyebrows and deep blue eyes, complies, slowly raising his hands and walking toward the door.
However, he suddenly ducks and rolls, slamming the door shut to cover his escape. The Midnight Poem. The sudden slam stirs Benson upstairs. The power of poetry, a serene, leisurely melody immediately drifts in from the corridor. The heavy, comfortable voice starts singing lines adapted from the Rubaiyat. Oh, the thread of horror, the hope of crimson cries. One thing at least is certain, that this life flies. One thing is certain, and the rest is lies. The flower that once has bloomed forever dies. The effect. The poem has a calming effect, immediately sending Benson and Melissa back to sleep. Klein, almost yawning, realizes his revolver cylinder had an empty chamber to prevent misfire, which he quickly corrects. The Secret Order. After about 10 minutes of silence, Dunn Smith appears, confirming the situation is settled. The organization. Dunn reveals the intruder belongs to the Secret Order, an ancient organization established in the Fourth Epoch related to the Solomon Empire and the Antigonus family. The diary was a stolen item they were trying to recover. The reward. Dunn credits the success to Klein's sharp wits. Since this situation highlights his heightened perception and the risk of future danger, Dunn offers Klein a choice based on his contribution. 1. Become a beyonder. Choose the starting sequence of an incomplete pathway. 2. Accumulate merit. Wait until there is room to become a sleepless, sequence 9 of the church's complete pathway. The 3 choices. Klein, delighted, asks for the details of the available sequence 9 potions. 1. Mystery Prior. Old Neil's Pathway. Source. Obtained from the Moses Ascetic Order, known for their maxim, do as you wish, but do no harm. Abilities. Comprehensive but rudimentary grasp of magic, witchcraft, astrology, and mystical knowledge. Knows many magical rituals and can sense certain hidden existences. Constraint. Lacks subsequent sequences, e.g., sequence 8, in the church. 2. Corpse Collector. Source. Popular among death-worshipping cultists in the southern continent. Abilities. Unintelligent dead spirits will not attack them. Gains resistance to cold, decay, and cadaveric auras. Can see evil spirits and weaknesses of undead creatures. Subsequent sequences. Sequence 8 and Sequence 7, Spirit Medium, Ma'am Daily Sequence. 3. Seer. Emperor Roselle's Regrets. Source. Only Sequence 9 is confirmed to be available. Abilities. Equips the user with the ability to learn astromancery, cartomancery, spiritual pendulums, and scrying. More learned in mysticism than a mystery prior, but lacks direct fighting means. The dilemma. Klein is torn between mystery prior, good foundational knowledge but incomplete sequence, and seer, Roselle's regretted choice, greater mysticism knowledge but poor combat ability. The deadmine. Dunn tells him to take his time, saying, "You don't have to rush into a decision. Tell me your answer Monday morning."
The decision. The next morning, after reflecting on his past life and his desire to return home, Klein makes his choice. Breakfast. He buys rye bread to replenish the staple food, noting the price is stabilizing. The newspaper. While flipping through outdated papers, he finds an expensive rental listing in the North Borough, £1, 6 soldi per week, which Benson dismisses as too costly. The apartment search. The 3 siblings head out on Sunday to the Tingen City Housing Improvement Company on Daffodil Street. The associations.
Melissa mentions the Tingen Housing Improvement Association for the Poor, aiming at the poor, often with communal bathrooms, but Benson steers them toward the company, aiming at the lower middle class. 5% charities. Benson explains that these organizations are called 5% charities because they provide a 5% return to investors from the rent received. The realities of poverty. Klein and Melissa find the rules of fully charitable housing trusts like the Deweyfield Trust reasonable, but Benson explains the harsh realities for the poor. They can't afford Maine vaccines, need to sublease to survive, and cannot stop their children from playing in corridors. Finding a place. At the company, a server named Scarter shows them available terrace houses. The siblings simultaneously agreed to check out the listing at 2 Daffodil Street first, as it is a familiar district. The new home. The siblings inspect the terrace house at 2 Daffodil Street with Scarter from the Tingen City Housing Improvement Company. First floor. It has a living room, an open dining area, dim lighting, a fireplace, a small guest room, Melissa's current room size, and a private bathroom with an accordion door. Second floor features a total of 4 bedrooms and a second, larger bathroom with a bathtub. Cost: the rent is $13 solely weekly, plus 5 pence for furniture usage. The negotiation. Klein is shocked to learn the house would cost £850 to buy, requiring over 20 years of saving for the family. He defers to Benson, who takes charge. Benson's bargain. Benson criticizes the poor lighting, small balcony, and old furniture. He successfully negotiates the rent down to 12 solely, the furniture fee to 3 pence, and the deposit to £2. Signing the lease. After notarizing the contract, Klein and Benson's remaining funds total £9, 2 solely, 8 pence. Resolving the old lease. The siblings visit their miserly former landlord, Mr. Frankie, to terminate their 1-year contract, 6 months remaining. Benson's logic. Benson convinces Frankie by arguing that they are doing him a favor. He suggests Frankie could immediately re-rent the apartment to a larger, working-class family for a higher price, £5, 10 solely, or 6 solely, and Frankie will profit from the current rising rental prices. The compensation. They offer to compensate him for the time spent finding a new tenant by forfeiting their 3 solely deposit. Frankie, easily swayed by the prospect of higher immediate profit, agrees. A new look. With the lease settled and the move finished, Klein spends £8 on a complete set of formal wear: a white shirt, black tuxedo, silk top hat, black vest, trousers, and boots. New beginning. The siblings are visibly cheerful despite the exhausting move. Klein looks in the mirror and notes his reflection now exhibits a greater scholarly quality and a more handsome appearance. The final choice. The next morning, Monday, Klein arrives at the Blackthorn Security Company in his new attire to meet Captain Dunn Smith. The decision. Dunn asks if he had decided. Klein answers without hesitation, Sear. The rationale. Klein explains his choice to Dunn, noting that he had eliminated Sleepless and Corpse Collector. Between Mystery Prior and Sear, the key factors were: 1. Roselle's regret. Emperor Roselle's diary regretting not choosing Sear was enough to tip the balance. 2. Digestion theory. He believed he could largely mitigate the negative effects of the potion by figuring out the true essence of digestion and acting, a concept hinted at in the diary. 3. Current danger. He needed to grasp a beyonder power immediately, as he had already encountered potential corruption and the secret order. The alchemy room. Dunn leads Klein past the archives in Chanis Gate to a secret door that leads to the Nighthawk's alchemy room, a space filled with chemistry-like equipment, test tubes, scales, mixed with mystical items, like a large cauldron, a crystal ball, and dark secret emblems. Mystical knowledge. When asked where mystical knowledge comes from, Dunn explains 3 sources. 1. Experimentation, summarization, and enhancement by predecessors. 2. Bestowal by the gods. 3. Dangerous murmurs from the spiritual world, which sometimes contain instructions on mysticism, though those who listen long-term have gone mad without an exception. New role. Dunn clarifies that Klein's status as a Beyonder is due to risk and necessity, not just merit. He remains a civilian staff member with the same salary. His new duty is to learn more about mysticism with Old Neil. Concocting the seer potion. Old Neil arrives with a tiny silver chest containing the ingredients. He's dressed in his black robe and felt hat. The simplicity of Sequence 9. Old Neil explains that for Sequence 7 and below, the process is simple. No need for a special flame or any additional ritual. All one needs to do is go according to the formula's steps, add the precise amounts, and mix. The formula in Hermes. Klein recognizes the words on the goatskin parchment. The potion requires 100 milliliters of pure water, 13 drops of night vanilla liquids, eases one's mind, 7 gold mint leaves, fresh stimulating scent, 3 drops of poison hemlock, can cause death, used for suicide in ancient times, 9 grams of dragon bloodgrass powder. Crucial ingredients. Old Neil stresses the final 2 ingredients are crucial. Too much could lead to mental problems or immediate death. 1. Lavos squid's blood. 10 milliliters. Blue like the sky, produces illusory bubbles connected to the spiritual world. 2. Star crystal, 50 grams. An extremely pure gelatinous crystal that reflects a resplendent void of stars within. An excellent material for divination crystals. The finished potion. When the ingredients are mixed, an illusory fog spews forth, making Klein feel like he's being observed by an invisible existence and giving him a strange feeling of distance and familiarity. The fog dissipates and the resulting liquid is a sticky, dark blue potion that Old Neil scoops into an opaque cup.
Consuming the potion. Klein faces the opaque cup containing the dark blue, gelatinous seer potion. Old Neil lightens the mood by joking that Klein should prepare with wine, a cigar, and a tap dance if he feels nervous. Klein takes a deep breath, pinches his nose, and drinks the potion in one gulp. A cool, sticky feeling travels to his stomach, stimulating every cell. His vision immediately saturates, becoming an impressionistic blur of hyper-rich colors. He feels simultaneously lightheaded and clear-minded. The out-of-body experience. He briefly separates his consciousness, seeing himself convulsing while his surroundings are filled with grayish, blurry fog and transparent objects containing lustrous, colorful brilliancies. This is similar to what he saw during his luck enhancement ritual. The return. His consciousness fuses back, resulting in a swelling headache and chaotic symptoms. After images in his vision and an ethereal murmur, Harnasis, Phlegaria, Harnasis, Phlegaria. Initial control, cogitation. Old Neo, noting the energy seepage and resulting mania, guides Klein through the first step of Beyonder control. First step. Klein is told to focus on a simple, common object. He chooses his haft top hat. By focusing on the shape and feel, the murmurs subside and the vision clears. Physical manifestation. O'Neill shows Klein his eyes in a mercury plate. They are now a significantly deepened dark brown, like the night, a physical manifestation of the potion's power that will return to normal when he learns to converge his power. Entering cogitation. The next step is to replace the familiar object with an object imagined completely out of thin air, to exceed the concept of I and connect with the universe for a mystic experience. He tries an earthy green intercontinental missile, but it fails.
He switches to outlining fantasy objects, spheres of light, and his mind quickly turns ethereal, allowing him to see the fog and light clusters again, now perceiving them with his spirituality. Learning spirit vision. With Klein smoothly in cogitation, old Neil begins teaching spirit vision, the most common and useful mystical ability. The technique. Klein must raise his hands, place them in front of his eyes with index fingers facing but not touching, and focus on a spot behind his hands until he is accustomed to the darkness. Then he slowly moves his fingers. Initial sight. Klein sees a fiery red color between his fingers. This is his aura, ether body. The four mystical bodies. Old Neil explains the mainstream division of a human's non-physical parts. Layer, name, description, related abilities. Innermost, soul body. Everyone's basic spirituality and core. Goal of cogitation, increasing strength. Outer layer, astral projection. Communicates with the spirit world or cosmos, related to ambition and emotions. Source of divination, seeing imagery, symbols, and magic spells. Combines with physical body, body of heart and mind, overall manifestation of inferential, analytical, and observational abilities. Target of some potions and many magic spells. Outermost, ether body, manifestation of vital energy and physical form, the source of the aura color seen via spirit vision. Aura colors, ether body, emotions, ether body health, red, limbs, motion, purple, head, brain, orange, waste excretion, green, regulatory systems, blue, throat, nervous system, white, balanced body, health. Astral projection, emotions, red, passion, excitement, yellow, happiness, extroversion, green, calm, peace, blue, coldness, stillness, dark colors, worry, sorrow, purple, spirituality, estrangement. The unseen threat. Klein uses his new spirit vision to look at old Neil, confirming his senior is indeed aging, darker red limbs, faded whiteness. The vision. As he examines old Neil, he suddenly sees a translucent pair of cold and ruthless eyes with no eyebrows in the void behind the old gentleman. These illusionary eyes are staring intently at both of them. Klein shudders and exclaims, "You have a pair of eyes behind you." Old Neil, taken aback, forces a smile and tersely commands, "Ignore them." Spiritual sight. The mysterious illusionary eyes vanish when old Neil tells Klein to ignore them, revealing them to be a characteristic of ritualistic magic. Klein uses his new spirit vision to inspect the alchemy room. Objects versus beings. Klein confirms that inanimate objects like tables and test tubes do not emit colors or light, but the extraordinary materials like those in the silver chest still possess vibrant, remnant spiritualities. A Nighthawk HQ. O'Neill chuckles and reminds Klein they're under the Church of Evernight's headquarters, which is why spirits and wandering souls are not common there. The burden. Klein experiences a painful spasm in his glabella and a chaotic vision. O'Neill explains this is common for new beyonders. Spirit vision places a great burden on the soul body and drains energy, causing spasms, headaches, and minor hallucinations. The beyonder switch. To exit spirit vision, Klein must use a diversionary thought, but O'Neill teaches him a more efficient method, the switch. The technique. By repeated self-hints during cogitation, a beyonder can set up a simple physical action to activate or deactivate the ability. Klein chooses to tap his glabella twice with his index finger's joint. Success. After practicing with O'Neill's guidance, Klein successfully sets up the switch. He taps twice, auras appear. He taps twice again, everything returns to normal. Fatigue. Klein realizes the ability is exhausting, feeling like he has stayed up for 3 nights. The 4 spiritual bodies. Recap and context. Klein further consolidates the mystical theory. Soul body, core spirituality, goal of cogitation. Astral projection, communication with the spirit world, source of divination, interpreting symbolic imagery of the past, present, and future, and magic spells. Body of heart and mind, mental attributes, analytical, observational, inferential, combines with the physical body. Ether body, aura, manifestation of vital energy and physical form. Spirit vision primarily sees this, health, emotional state, and spirits, ghosts. Rest and preparation. Klein follows O'Neill's instructions. Rest, then patrol Iron Cross Street to look for clues on the Antigonus notebook and revise historical documents. Rest. Klein takes a trackless carriage home to Daffodil Street and collapses into his new bedroom's bed, sleeping until past noon. Revision. He wakes up feeling refreshed, uses his new spirit vision switch to confirm his energy is restored, and spends the early afternoon revising original Klein's notes. The Tarot Club. At 2:57 p.m., Klein activates his spirit vision to confirm his room is clear of spirits before preparing for his scheduled gathering with the Hanged Man and Justice. The ritual. He begins the 4-step counterclockwise movement while softly chanting in Chinese. The effect. The itching and protrusions start on the back of his hands. The familiar, hysterical shouts and alluring murmurs resume, but Klein notes the headache is less severe. His new self-control as a beyonder is helping him resist the immersion. The ascent. He floats up into the gray fog, sees the dark red stars, 2 of which have a familiar, minute connection, and mutters, realizing they are what O'Neill called his astral projection. The gathering. He forms the opulent divine palace, walks to the seat of honor, and uses the thick gray fog to conceal his body and face. He then taps the 2 connected stars, initiating the miraculous connection to summon his members. The gathering. At exactly 3 p.m., the 3 members are seated above the gray fog. The fool, Klein, sits in the seat of honor, calm and unfathomable. He uses his new spirit vision on the members. Justice, Audrey, has a lustrous, thick aura, vibrant and healthy. Her emotions are red and yellow, joy, zeal, and excitement. The hangman, Alger, has a normal aura. His emotions are blue mixed with orange, calm, thoughtful, careful, and a little pleased. Klein notes that deep within Alger's ether body is a deep blue color, akin to a tidal storm, a clear sign of a beyonder stronger than O'Neill, though Klein attributes this visibility to the mystical nature of the gray fog space. The transaction. Audrey confirms she successfully provided the ghost shark blood, an extraordinary creature from the sea, to Alger from her family's vault. The spectator potion formula. Alger, honoring the deal, provides Audrey with the formula for the Sequence 9 potion, Spectator. Spectator. Sequence 9 potion. 80 milliliters of pure water, 5 drops of autumn crocus essence, 13 grams of cow teeth peonal powder, 7 petals of elf flowers, and a matured manhole fish's eyeball. Add 35 milliliters of goat-horned blackfish blood. Warning. Auger stresses that low-sequence potions are easy to concoct, but that quantities of ingredients should be less but not more than specified to avoid the danger of losing control. Instructions. Auger advises her to quickly begin cognition after consumption to control spirituality. Practice every day and dig out the meaning it symbolizes, the name spectator, to avoid losing control. The Roselle Hint. Klein, silently listening to Auger's accurate but incomplete advice, decides to drop a hint gleaned from Emperor Roselle's diary. Klein's insight. Klein taps the table gently and interrupts in a deep voice. It's not about grasping them, but rather digesting them. It's not about discovery, but rather acting. The name of a potion is not only symbolic, it's also imagery. It is the key to digesting. The hangman's reaction. Auger is stunned, jolting as if hit by thunder. He repeats the words digesting, acting, digestion, acting, key, recognizing a profound, life-saving truth. He raises his head with a hoarse voice and says, "Thank you, Mr. Fool. Your hint is as valuable as my life. You have enlightened me greatly." The payment. Klein, maintaining his mysterious persona, replies, "That was an advance payment." The mission. Audrey and Auger, now certain of Mr. Fool's immense power, ask what task he wishes to entrust them to. The request. Klein leans back and states his mission. Collect Roselle Gustave's secret diary on my behalf, even if it's just one page of it. The Roselle Diary Mission. Deciphering the text. Klein, the fool, confirms the cryptic text should be treated as a diary for now. To solve the problem of transmission, Klein devised a method. He guides Audrey, Justice, to project the memorized text or symbols onto the goatskin parchment in the fog space. This confirms that the members only need to memorize the look of the symbols, not understand them. Payment policy. Klein sets a clear rule. The digesting and acting hint was an advance payment equivalent to 2 diary pages from each member. Additional pages will require additional compensation, establishing a cycle of fair exchange. Spectator guidance. Auger, the hangman, offers crucial guidance to Audrey. A spectator will forever be a spectator. She must maintain an absolute bystander attitude and avoid emotional investment in events to truly observe the habits, lies, and true thoughts of others. This sparks Klein's thought that this acting is the key to digesting the potion, a concept he must apply to his own seer pathway. The intelligence exchange. The 3 members share pieces of information. The hangman, Auger, infamous pirate Admiral Ludwell, owner of the Black Tulip, is sailing to explore the eastern Sononia Sea again. The fool, Klein. The secret order has lost an Antigonus family notebook. Justice, Audrey. The king, premier, and gentlemen are under immense stress following a military failure at Balaam's eastern shore, leading to a desire for political change. The chilling revelation. Auger connects the Antigonus family to a major historical event. The shock. Auger casually reveals that the Antigonus family was destroyed by the Church of Evernight at the end of the fourth epoch or beginning of the fifth. Klein's realization. Klein is chilled, realizing the notebook's true value and danger. He concludes that his Beyonder nomination by the Nighthawks was primarily driven by their desire to leverage his enhanced spiritual sensitivity to help them find the notebook, rather than simply rewarding his contribution. The civil service discussion. Audrey explains that her father and brother are concerned about the chaotic government structure in the Luan Kingdom. The constant change in personnel after every election victory makes the government inefficient and disruptive. Alger mocks the slow pace of change, likening the politicians to those who only feel the itch a year after a mosquito bite. Klein's simple solution. Klein, drawing on his knowledge of civil service systems from his past life, foodaholic empire, offers a solution to the complex political problem. 1. Open examination. Hold a public, objective, college entrance-like examination, split into multiple rounds to select elites. 2. Professional positions. Use these elites to fill all non-political, functional civil servant positions, e.g., cabinet secretaries, county and city government staff, where expertise is key. 3. Political positions. Leave the high-level political positions in ministers, governors, to the party that wins the election. 4. Gradual implementation. The change must be gradual, introducing the system yearly or every 3 years. The outcome. Audrey is surprised and sincerely impressed, concluding it's a very simple but effective solution. She calls Klein a wise, elderly person with outstanding intelligence. Klein, feeling his image as an ancient power is being cemented, but slightly awkward, ends the meeting abruptly. The curtain drops. Klein severs the connection after Audrey asks Alger about the dangerous Amon family. The aftermath above the fog. Klein remains seated, noting he still feels energetic after becoming a Beyonder. He purposefully ended the meeting early because the revelation about the church destroying the Antigonus family means he must now seriously search for the notebook and cannot simply sleep all day, which would make Dunsmith suspicious. Summoning power. Klein confirms that as a Beyonder, he is now able to touch another dark red star, meaning he could potentially summon one more member. He decides against it immediately, fearing he might pull in someone like Dunsmith, which would expose his organization to the church's scrutiny. The descent. Klein uses his spirituality to imitate a heavy, rapid plunge, returning to his dark room. He resolves to start planning how to act as a seer to digest his potion. Post-gathering actions. Justice, Audrey. Filled with excitement, Audrey immediately writes down the spectator potion formula in her notebook, disguising it with complicated chemical names. She plans to search her family's vaults in exchange for the remaining materials. Then she greets her golden retriever, Susie, envisioning the dog as the competent assistant to a real spectator. The hanged man, Alger. Alger fails to figure out the specific details of how the fool summons them. He then looks at the goatskin parchment he keeps, noting the title, 7, Seafarer. The search and emotional impact, patrol. Klein leaves his house dressed in casual clothes, heading toward his former apartment in Welch's Place. Spirit visions toll. Upon entering the poor area of Iron Cross Street, Klein is immediately overwhelmed by an inexplicable gloom, apathy, and heaviness. He realizes that his spirit vision, which also passively enhances his perception, is picking up the dark aura of repression accumulated over years by the residents. This confirms old Neil's warning that a Beyonder can easily be affected by the emotions of others. The search. He uses his new ability by tapping his glabella twice as a switch, searching his former apartment and Welch's Place for any abnormal spiritual traces or the hidden notebook. He finds nothing, concluding that the Nighthawks and Daly have already conducted a thorough search. The Divination Club. Deciding to head to the Blackthorn Company for shooting practice to make up for a seer's knack of quick offense, Klein passes by a commercial area. New idea. He sees a sign for a divination club and decides to investigate, hoping to gain ideas on how to act as a seer to digest his potion. Membership. The attendant explains the club's benefits, including access to divination rooms, tools, coffee, and reading materials, lectures by famous fortune tellers, a community for members to exchange ideas. The cost. The annual fee is £5 for the first year, a sum Klein does not currently have. The question. Klein, unable to afford membership, asks the alternative, then what if I want my fortune told? The fee in fortune telling. Glasses is a novice who charges only 2 pence per divination, making him affordable for Klein. Glasses admits his lack of experience and offers to make the session a free exchange, though Klein insists on paying 2 pence as respect divination deserves. Aura observation. Klein uses his spirit vision on Glasses and observes a health abnormality. The orange colors near his lungs are dark and sparse, indicating a problem. The divination. Klein asks Glasses to divine the location of the Antigonus notebook with the question, can it still be found? Result 1. The card revealed is the inverted fool. Glasses interprets this as the item cannot be found. Result 2. Klein then asks, is the item already in the hands of others? The card is the inverted star. Glasses interprets this as the item has not been taken by others yet. The diagnosis. As he leaves, Klein delivers a cryptic warning to Glasses. Mr. Glasses, I suggest that you see a doctor as soon as possible. Focus on your lungs. He attributes this observation to Glasses' dark glabella, a classic Chinese ominous portent, leaving Glasses confused and amused. The plan. Klein decides his best plan for acting as a seer to digest his potion is to save money, join the divination club, and work as a novice fortune teller there. Klein returns to Blackthorn Security, faces suspicion from Leonard, and then begins training. Leonard's interrogation. Klein encounters Leonard Mitchell at the reception desk. Leonard questions Klein's survival, asking, if your suicide was meant to silence you and wipe out any clues, why weren't you made to destroy the notebook there and then? Klein offers an official surmise. The unknown existence wanted the book hidden for a second round of entertainment. Leonard counterproposes that the notebook might be a vessel or a breeding ground for evil, and Klein's failed suicide was part of hiding its birth. Klein realizes Leonard's suspicion is acute, potentially even pointing toward his true status as a vessel, a transmigrator. Drawing bullets. Klein heads to the armory and meets Roseanne and the romantic nighthawk, Bread, who was changing shifts to celebrate his wedding anniversary. He collects his 30 bullets for practice. Training. Klein spends time practicing his shooting and doing physical exercises like push-ups, aiming to build muscle memory and improve his physique to compensate for his current no direct beyonder offense. The home front. Klein successfully convinces his sister Melissa to stop walking to school and take the public carriage by using his superior mathematical and logical skills, stressing the value of time and the importance of a healthy diet, meat, for their studies. New lesson. The next morning, Klein meets old Neil in the armory. After confirming Klein slept well, he failed to hear the usual sounds of beyonder activity. Old Neil prepares to teach him an interesting trick, using the moonstone hanging from his wrist chain. Old Neil begins Klein's formal mysticism training by teaching him pendulum dowsing and the complex concept of symbolism. He also learns how to leverage his new beyonder status to get funding for his acting plan. The interesting trip, pendulum dowsing. Old Neil first demonstrates spirit dowsing using the moonstone on his silver chain. The experiment. Klein brews 2 cups of coffee, secretly adding dirt from his boot to one. Old Neil holds his moonstone over the cups. The divination. The moonstone trembles and spins counterclockwise over the cup with the dirt. Old Neil accurately states, this cup is the one with the unpleasant thing. The technique. Dowsing relies on the astral projection's connection to the spirit world using natural materials, crystals, or gems to communicate. Counterclockwise implies bad or no, failure. Clockwise implies good, yes, success. Stationary implies neutral. Klein's realization. This is a simple, useful trick to quickly check for danger, e.g., poison in food, though it lacks the depth for complex interpretations. Klein learns that he doesn't need to buy his own pendulum, as the Nighthawks issue them to support Beyonders. He resolves to apply to Captain Dunn for one. The basics of symbolism. The basics of symbolism. Old Neil transitions to the core of mysticism, symbolism. Definition. Symbols are the abstract characters or pictorial images that represent the indescribable experiences and direct revelations received from the spirit world and the cosmos. Tarot cards are essentially man-made symbols to help interpret these primordial revelations. Constellations. Old Neil sketches various constellation symbols, bumper harvest, thunderous, frost, noting their old, unsophisticated names were maintained despite Emperor Rosel's attempt to change them. He wanted names like Virgo, Cancer, and Scorpio. The curriculum. The lesson covers how to draw divination astrolabes, choose incantations, and create a crystal ball. Klein finds the massive amounts of information overwhelming, yet notes that his seer potion has improved his memory. The expense claim. Old Neil. Klein probes Old Neil about his plan to join the divination club to practice acting as a seer. The idea, Klein suggests joining the club on Howe Street to get constant practice and accelerate his digestion. Old Neil's endorsement? Old Neil is supportive and surprised that Klein planned to use his own money. But why must you wait till you have spare cash? You can apply to Dunn and get him to approve of the expenses. It's part of the job. We would regularly monitor these places. Now it can be handled to you. Klein's reaction? Klein realizing he can get his hobby funded as an official job expense? I can do that? Immediately agrees to report the plan to Captain Dunn. The punchline? Old Neil notices the undrinkable coffee and asks what Klein put in it. Klein sheepishly admits it was just some dirt underneath my boots, causing Old Neil to roar, "Why aren't you pouring it away yet?"
Klein's routine and funding. Office life. Klein familiarizes himself with the layout of the Blackthorn Security Company, offices, restroom, armory. He finds the civilian staff office and uses the typewriter to prepare his expenditure application. The application. Klein asks Captain Dunn Smith to approve his request for funding for the Divination Club membership and a spirit pendulum. Dunn signs it immediately, admitting he was too busy with cases to apply for the team's regular budget. New lifestyle. Klein settles into a disciplined routine: cogitation, mysticism lessons with Old Neil, studying historical documents, napping, shooting practice, patrols of Iron Cross Street/Welch's Place, and grocery shopping. He also finally gets his topaz spirit pendulum. Audrey's accident. The potion. Audrey successfully concocts the spectator potion on her first attempt, ecstatic about her talent in mysticism. The interruption. Her maid, Annie, interrupts her with an invitation from the Duchess. Audrey feigns sickness, using her elegant fainting lessons to reject the social engagement and return to her lab. The disaster. She returns to find that her loyal golden retriever, Susie, has opened the door. The cup is shattered on the floor, and Susie is licking up the last drop of the silver potion. The second try? Audrey is forced to immediately concoct the potion a second time. She quickly drinks the silver liquid, officially becoming a spectator. Ulger's commitment. The sea. In a separate scene, the hanged man, Ulger Wilson, is shown on an island enveloped in storms. He rejects a comfortable position as a captain or bishop in the Church of the Storms, choosing instead to remain captain of the Blue Avenger to abide by the Lord's will and monitor this area of his kingdom, suggesting he is undertaking a serious long-term mission at sea. The unexpected client. Lack of manpower. On a rainy Friday, most of the Nighthawks are busy with cases or duties. Dunn at the cathedral, Leonard at Chanisgate, Fry and Radine on a cultist case, etc., leaving only Klein and the staff behind. The visitor. A lanky man named Klein, butler to tobacco merchant Mr. Vickroy, arrives at Blackthorn Security, mistaking it for a mercenary company. Klein is looking for help because his employer's only son, little Elliot, has been kidnapped. The shortage. Klein reveals that he came to Blackthorn because a recent armed burglary murder on Howe Street, where Klein was involved, has terrified the wealthy in Tingen, causing a huge shortage of security personnel and private detectives. Leonard takes the case. The offer. Klein offers £100 for finding the kidnapper's hideout and £200 for successfully rescuing the boy, emphasizing that the police will handle the rescue. Leonard's involvement. Leonard Mitchell emerges from the inner office and, after casually correcting Klein's assumption about their mercenary status, accepts the case. He displays his unprofessionalism by having Roseanne type up a simple contract on the spot. The partnership. Leonard immediately approaches Klein for help, stating, "I'm good at combat, shooting, climbing, sensing, and chanting, but that does not include looking for people. You don't expect old Neil to go out in such weather, right?" Klein acceptance. Klein, eager to test his new seer abilities and wary of Leonard, agrees to work with him. He feels a sense of anticipation about the mission. Klein and Leonard meet with butler Klein to begin the investigation. Gathering mediums. Klein, using the excuse of a unique pet with a sharp sense of smell, requests unwashed clothes and an accessory of the missing boy, Elliot. Klein provides clothes and a bronze storm amulet. The search. They ride a two-wheeled carriage, and Klein uses his abilities to track Elliot. Dowsing rod seeking. Klein uses his silver-inlaid black cane with the storm amulet wrapped around it as a dowsing rod. He enters a half-cogitation state and repeatedly chants Elliot's location. Results. The cane falls and points straight ahead. Klein feels the mysterious sensation of being watched, which often happens when using his powers. They follow the direction given by the cane. Location confirmed. After 30 minutes, they pinpoint a 3-story building. Klein repeats the dowsing rod technique and confirms Elliot is inside. Reconnaissance. Klein uses his spirit vision, tap on the glabella, and whispers the situation to Leonard. 3 kidnappers and 1 short aura, Elliot, matching the client's information. 3 men, 2 hunting rifles, and a revolver. Leonard's plan. Leonard decides to recite a poem for them. Leonard executes his plan, and the 2 Nighthawks resolve the crisis. The Midnight Poem. Leonard recites a poem that sounds like a lullaby, causing Klein to instantly feel torpid, serene, and almost fall asleep. He narrowly escapes the influence of the Midnight Poem through his strong spiritual perception and cogitation practice. Leonard confirms they are asleep. The breakthrough. Leonard shatters the wooden area around the door lock with a precise punch and opens the door. The ambush. As Leonard deals with the sleeping and disoriented kidnappers inside, Klein senses footsteps approaching from below. A man carrying a paper bag of bread, the accomplice, appears on the stairs. The confrontation. Klein draws his revolver and gives a clear warning. The accomplice attempts to throw the bag of bread to block Klein's vision, but Klein reacts quickly, pulling the trigger. The result. Klein hits the accomplice in the left shoulder. He was aiming for the legs, demonstrating his improved skill but imperfect control. Leonard jumps over the railing, lands on the accomplice, and knocks him unconscious. Mission complete. Klein uses his spiritual perception to confirm he could see and hear faint obstructed bings, a Beyonder perk. They secure the 3 kidnappers and the accomplice, and Elliot is safe. Aftermath. Leonard sends Klein to fetch the police, but they sneak away together shortly after, leaving the police to handle the messy paperwork. Leonard asserts that the kidnappers will not suspect Beyonder influence, simply believing the weather made them drowsy. The commission. Klein is told the rules. Half the £200 commission goes to the organization, and he gets 10% of the remaining half, £10.
The revelation. The nightmare. Klein is awakened by a terrifying dream. He sees the notebook he was meant to hide, a black, hard-covered book. The page shows a picture of the Fool and the Hermes line. Everyone will die, including me. The curve. The Fool's mouth in the drawing is curving up. Déjà vu. The nightmare triggers the realization of what he had missed. While Leonard was singing, he felt an indifferent focus on his back, a feeling of déjà vu. The final answer. Klein connects the dream, the feeling, and Dunsmith's warning about déjà vu. He concludes, the Antigonus family's notebook is near. Klein confirms the notebook's location and mobilizes the Nighthawks. The urgency. Klein is woken by the realization that his feeling of déjà vu and the nightmare means the Antigonus notebook is in the apartment opposite the kidnapper's room. He quickly changes and leaves a note for his siblings despite the early hour. Mobilization. Klein arrives at Blackthorn Security at 6 a.m. He finds Leonard Mitchell awake and immediately informs Captain Dunsmith that the Antigonus family's notebook is located opposite the building where they rescued Elliot. The team. Dunn mobilizes a team. Klein, Sear, Old Neil, Fry, corpse collector, and Leonard, as the driver. Dunn carries a distinctive revolver with a long, thick barrel. The ride. During the carriage ride, Old Neil comments that Klein's fate seems entwined with the notebook, finding the coincidence of its location curious. Arrival. The team stops at the building. Klein confirms the location using his spirit vision. The door feels familiar, as if he had entered it before. Old Neil and Fry confirm there is no spiritual glow or evil spirits inside. Leonard punches the lock, and they immediately smell an intense stench. The corpse. Inside, they find an old woman, Caddy Stefania Bieber, sitting in a rocking chair by a chimney. Her body is highly decomposed, swollen, blackish green, and infested with maggots, with a terrible putrid odor. Klein vomits. The putrid stench is so overwhelming that Klein bends over and vomits involuntarily. Fry, the corpse collector, silently offers him a tin flask containing a mixture of tobacco, disinfectant, and mint to clear his nose. The Nighthawks investigate. The investigation and determine the current possessor of the notebook's current owner. Investigation. Dunn asks Klein if the room looks familiar. When Klein taps his glabella, the room triggers a deeper memory/vision. Dark, dull scenes and the illusory murmur of Hornassus phlegrea. Fry's findings. Fry determines the time of death was more than 5 days ago. There are no obvious external injuries or signs of Beyonder powers, suggesting the cause of death will require a post-mortem. The missing son. A policeman arrives and identifies the victim and the apartment's resident, Caddy Bieber, and her son, Ray Bieber. Crucially, the son, Ray Bieber, 30, gem artisan, has not been seen in over a week. Dunn immediately issues a warrant for Ray Bieber's arrest for his mother's murder. Mystical sketch. To find the son, Dunn instructs Old Neil to create a portrait based on the spiritual residue in the room. The ritual. Old Neil conducts a ritual, scattering liquids and powder, causing an invisible force field to form around them. He chants in an undiscernible way, "Goddess, give me strength. We look forward to the protection of the night." The result. His eyes turn pitch black, and he sketches Ray Bieber's face rapidly, noting his features. Recessed eyes, tall nose bridge, black hair, deep blue eyes, and a fully ceramic
tooth implant. Divination fails. Klein attempts dowsing rod seeking using Ray Bieber's clothes and the portrait, but the cane spins and remains still, indicating that a strange power is interfering with the divination. The conclusion. Klein and Old Neil return to Zatalan Street. Klein asks why he was made to hand the notebook to Ray Bieber. Old Neil suggests it was either because Ray's life path number matched a requirement, or because he is one of the last descendants of the Antigonus family. The best approach is to continue following the narrative flow of the chapters, which focuses on Old Neil's lack of money and Klein's plan to start acting at the Divination Club. This keeps the immediate context and momentum. Freedom from the notebook. Old Neil's assurance.
Old Neil explains that the exposure of the notebook, now presumably with Ray Bieber, and the subsequent police involvement means the surreptitious existence or mysterious power will no longer focus on Klein. Oh, the secret order, a 1,000-year-old organization, will quickly learn about the arrest warrant and will prioritize finding Ray Bieber and the notebook, diverting focus away from Klein. Lad, congratulations on stepping out from the shadows of the past. Klein's relief and fear. Klein is relieved but remains wary, fearing the notebook might somehow still be tied to him, e.g. being delivered to his door. Religious banter. Klein and Old Neil exchange friendly, sarcastic remarks about being devout believers before ritually saying, "Praise the lady." The commission and salary. Mrs. Oriana arrives. The elegant Mrs. Oriana opens the office and informs Klein about the payment from butler Klein. The payment. Klein paid the full £200 commission. Half, £100, goes to the team's additional funds. The remaining half, £100, is split. Klein, as a non-formal member, receives 10% of the remaining half, which is £10. The unfairness. Klein jokingly laments the ease with which two Beyonders solved a major kidnapping, comparing it to an adult bullying children. Old Neil's poverty. Klein, sensing Old Neil's envy, asks about his salary. Old Neil reveals he earns a generous £12 a week, over £600 a year, from both the church and the police department, and it is tax-exempt. The catch. Despite the high salary, it is insufficient because the official materials application is limited. To learn and experiment freely in mysticism, Beyonders must spend their own money on materials, often sourced from the underground market. The underground market. Legitimacy. Klein is surprised to learn that Beyonder materials are sold on underground markets. Old Neil explains. The materials include common items with special properties, e.g. poison hemlock, gold mint leaves, that cannot be banned. The church cannot fully control the outflow of lower-grade extraordinary materials without a tremendous financial burden. The churches tolerate the markets as they can be useful for obtaining rare materials and for monitoring secret organizations. The barrier. Klein asks Old Neil to take him to the market, but Old Neil declines, revealing an embarrassing truth. I have a £30 bill that needs paying soon. The plan. Klein offers to lend him money, but Old Neil declines, concluding the lesson by telling Klein to prepare for ritualistic magic tomorrow. Klein decides to use his newly earned £10 to immediately join the divination club. Klein heads to the divination club to begin his acting process and finds his first potential source of information, the club. Klein goes to the second floor of 13 House Street and meets the attendant, Angelica Barenhart, who surprisingly remembers him. Joining up, Klein pays the £5 membership fee and feels the pinch of Henry Augustus I's portrait leaving him, and registers with his personal details, intentionally leaving his date of birth blank to protect his life path number. The price trap. Klein expresses his desire to begin telling fortunes. Angelica advises him on the club's cut, an eighth, and asks for his fee. Klein decides on 2 pence, intending to attract customers with a low price. The lesson. Angelica points him to the meeting room, where Mr. Hannes Vincent is explaining astrolabe divination. The scene. Klein notes Hannes has dark circles and spiky brown hair. Using his spirit vision, he sees Hannes's aura is dark red, suggesting worry, but otherwise healthy. Advice from a member. A young man named Edward Steve introduces himself. He is best at tarot and poker divination and charges a suitable middle ground price. Edward's strategy. It's easiest to gain opportunities if you are in the middle. He advises that customers avoid the most expensive and the cheapest fortune tellers. The adjustment. Realizing his 2 pence price is too cheap, Klein immediately raises his fee to 8 pence. Magic mirror divination. As Klein returns to the meeting room, Hannes Vincent announces he's learned a new art, magic mirror divination. Klein immediately recognizes this as potentially not safe and frowns. The 3 categories of divination. Klein understands that divination can be categorized based on the source of the revelation. 1. Direct contact with self or spirit world, high requirements. Method. Uses the inquirer's own spirituality and communication with the spirit world. Examples: tarot, poker, dreams, pendulums, and dowsing canes. Constraint.
requires high spirituality, soul body, and astral projection. Non-beyonders get imprecise results. 2. Calculation and inference. Initiative with fortune teller. Method. Uses personal details, nature changes, calculations, inference, and interpretation. Examples: spirit numerology and astromancy, like Hannes Vincent's astrolabe divination. 3. External third party. Dangerous. Method. Uses an external third party, not the inquirer or fortune teller, by using rituals to ask for a direct answer from the unknown or the supernatural. Examples: Ouija boards and forbidden forms of magic mirror divination. Danger. High risk of communicating with malicious spirits or entities, leading to tragedy or insanity. Klein suspects the original Klein Welch-Naya incident involved a forbidden third category divination. Magic mirror divination. Safety check. Klein waits outside to determine if Hannes Vincent's method is the dangerous third category or the safe orthodox version. The safe method. Orthodox. Hannes's lesson confirms the orthodox method of asking the 7 orthodox divinities, like the Evernight goddess. Process. Choose a suitable time and date, e.g. specific moon-related hours on a Sunday for the Evernight goddess. Use a silver-coated mirror, place it at the moon position, pray sincerely, and then gently toss the mirror to interpret the way it shatters. The revelation. Klein's insight. Klein internally corrects Hannes, noting that a beyonder would use a spirit pendulum, spirit dowsing, to determine the most suitable position, chanting, "This place is suitable for magic mirror divination." Conclusion. The lesson is on safe orthodox divination, which is unlikely to yield clear revelations for ordinary people, but is harmless. Klein enters the room. The struggling seer. While listening, Klein chats with Edward Steve, who uses a middle ground price for success. Edward laments that many divination interpretations are vague. Survival bias, a term Klein borrows from Emperor Roselle. No customers. Klein spends the afternoon listening and trying to subtly steer conversations away from dangerous beyonder topics. But despite setting his initial price at 2 pence and later raising it to 8 pence, no inquirer picks him. Klein leaves feeling self-deprecating. Glasses returns. As Klein leaves, the original fortune teller he consulted, Glasses, returns. Glasses is frail, having suffered from a serious illness, pneumonia, despite his own and Edward's divination showing no danger. Glasses's revelation. Glasses is highly agitated to hear that Klein has joined the club. He calls Klein a very, very, very magical doctor, realizing Klein's earlier consultation, divining his illness, was accurate and saved his life. Family life and honesty. Sharing the wealth. Klein gives Benson his commission of £5, half of his total £10, lying that it was a bonus for handling an urgent historical document handover. Benson's plan. Benson is shocked by the generosity, but plans to use the money to buy accountancy books to improve his salary potential, rather than decent clothes. Klein also suggests he reviews his grammar books to prepare for future civil service opportunities. Morning call. They discuss the middle-class social customs of morning calls, formal visits between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., after their neighbor Mrs. Shant sent a calling card. Klein realizes he cannot attend due to his Sunday work schedule. Ritualistic magic lesson. Meeting Old Neil. On Sunday morning, Klein meets Old Neil and the sleepless Royale Radine, who gives a cryptic warning. Ritualistic magic is a very dangerous thing. The location. Old Neil takes Klein to his own house, a rose and gold mint-filled bungalow, as the armory is too small to practice. The demonstration. Old Neil prepares to demonstrate ritualistic magic. He takes out a fake goatskin parchment from a silver chest, which has strange pictures drawn on it with serene fragranced ink. The IOU. Klein watches as Old Neil fills in the number 30 and the L sign on the parchment. The debt repayment. Confused, Klein asks what ritual he is performing. Old Neil replies with a completely straight face, "I'll be using magic to settle that debt of £30 today." The foundations of rituals. The maxim. Klein apologizes for suspecting Old Neil might resort to harmful magic, forgetting the mystery prior's maxim, "Do as you wish, but do no harm." The danger. Old Neil warns Klein vehemently against attempting to communicate with the unknown or unpredictable existences. He stresses that once attempted, it's a slippery slope into the abyss with no return. Orthodox approach. Beyonders, especially those skilled in mysticism, can ignore the strict calendar requirements needed by ordinary people, relying on their spiritual perception and astral projection. Symbolism of candles. 2 candles represent the goddess, Lady of Crimson and Night, using specific materials: moonflowers,
dark red sandalwood, night vanilla, slumber flowers. 3 candles. The Moses ascetic order belief. 0 is chaos, 1 is the creator, 2 is the world divinities, and 3 is the creation of all things. 3 begets all things. The 3 candles represent the divinity, 2, plus the caster, 1. The 3rd candle represents Old Neil, me, made of ordinary wax with a little mint added, as mint is beloved by the goddess. The debt settlement ritual. Setup. Old Neil removes items, places the 3 candles, and sets up the altar with full moon essence oil, a cauldron engraved with the dark sacred emblem, a silver knife, water, and salt. The fake goatskin parchment, the IOU for 30 pounds, is placed beneath the cauldron. Purification. Old Neil lights the candles, then uses the silver knife to sanctify the salt and then the water by inserting the knife into them, chanting in Hermes. Isolation. He uses the silver knife to walk around the altar, creating a sealed, invisible spiritual wall to isolate the ritual space. Incantation, Hermes. After marking the IOU parchment with a square, control, and a cross, cancellation, Old Neil activates his spirit vision and whispers a chant. I pray for the power of the dark night. I pray for the power of the crimson. I pray for the goddess's loving grace. Please provide me with the funds to pay this IOU. Night vanilla, an herb that belongs to the red moon. Please bestow your powers to my incantation. Completion. He throws the burning parchment into the cauldron. After it is incinerated, he says, "Praise the lady," and rips apart the invisible wall. The result. Klein asks if the IOU is settled and how. Old Neil replies with a relaxed smile. I don't know either. Anyways, it will be settled in a reasonable manner. Old Neil's ritual works almost immediately when he coincidentally finds a wallet containing exactly the needed amount, while Audrey practices her Beyonder ability at a banquet. The immediate repayment. The wallet. Back on Zouteland Street, Old Neil finds a high-quality bulging wallet. Inside are more than 30 10-pound notes totaling over 300 pounds. The owner. Before they can wait long, a luxurious carriage stops. The butler identifies the wallet's logo, a blue dove, and confirms it belongs to Sir Deweyville, a respected knight known for his trusts. Oh, the butler confirms the wallet contains more than 300 pounds, but less than 350 pounds. The reward. Old Neil returns the wallet and receives a 30-pound reward as a commendation from Sir Deweyville for his honesty. Oh, the power of magic. Old Neil triumphantly flicks the notes. 30 pounds. The IOU is settled. I said it will be settled in a reasonable manner. The moral. He warns Klein, do not be greedy. One must take care not to be greedy when doing ritualistic magic. Temperance is a critical trait needed by every mystery prior. Audrey, the spectator. The setting. At an extravagant ballroom banquet, Audrey Hall is practicing her Sequence 9 spectator potions effects. She wears an elegant, elaborate pale white dress. The act. Instead of engaging, Audrey stands in the shadows, observing the crowd as if watching an opera. She analyzes the guests. Earl Wolfson. His large forearm movements betray the unbelievability and guilt of his self-aggrandizing claims. Duchess Della, repeatedly covering her mouth to show off her sapphire ring. Duke Negan, little eye contact with his wife, they are likely not as in love as they pretend. Baron Larry, Madame Parnis, guilty glances and heading to the garden suggest an affair. Breaking the state. Audrey's spectator state is suddenly broken when she senses something. She turns and sees her huge golden retriever, Susie, sitting silently in a dark corner of the balcony, looking directly at her.